Oh, Nerve is starting. Sorry, this is really important.
What's Nerve?
It's a game. Here, just click on the video.
Welcome to Nerve, New York City. Nerve is a 24-hour game, like Truth or Dare, minus the truth. Watchers pay to watch. Players play to win, cash and glory. Are you a watcher or a player? Are you a watcher or a player? Are you a watcher or a player?
It's cool, right?
This looks very sketchy. Is this legal?
I don't know. Probably not. Just do it. Just sign up and watch. Time's ticking.
Okay, signing up. Look, this is me signing up to watch you.
You have to sign up and watch me. It's very important that I have watchers.
I gotta go. My mom just got
it.
home. I'll sign up after breakfast, I promise.
Thank you. I love you. I'll see you in a little bit.
Bye.
Nerve is about an online game of truth or dare, basically, without the truth, although a lot of truth comes out when people are playing. And it is kind of legal, kind of not legal, you don't really know. And all these kids are playing it and doing stuff for money, for prizes, for notoriety. And I thought it was really interesting because it kind of reminds me of the internet culture right now of, people kind of putting their whole life on YouTube or, exposing things on Twitter or everyone's just very private in public now. And I think this movie really kind of captures that. And I think it's what makes it really relevant.
So when I first read the script, I was attracted to it because the concept felt fresh. It felt like something we hadn't seen before. And then I met up with the directors, and I could immediately tell that they were going to make the best version of this movie possible. Ultimately, when I saw the final product, I had high expectations, but they took it to a level that I didn't even expect in terms of how they incorporated the graphics and the way it was edited. It almost felt like a Danny Boyle movie in the sense of how frenetic it is and how the pace just never lets up. And so I give those directors so much credit for this movie.
I think the game of Nerve is very relevant to what's going on now. And again, I missed it before, but that's part of also what drew me to it and impressed me so much about the script, but even more so about Henry and Rel's perspective on it. Is I've kind of struggled with my own acceptance of the internet and what I think it's done to the world. And I just recently joined social media, but I was so against it for so long, and I was putting my foot down that it's ending the world and the world's over. And I recently joined because I was like, this is the world, it's not going anywhere. So I have to, you have to become a part of it to even have any effect on it. And I think that's exactly what Henry and Rel have done.
That was Emma Roberts, Dave Franco and Emily Meade talking about Nerve.
So I was hopeful that this wasn't going to turn out in any way poor at all, because from the trailers I was like, right, here we've got a premise which looks really fascinating and they could have a lot of exploration within, and I was hoping, hopefully they stick the landing with this one and they don't make it into something generic and sort of that generic kind of social commentary thriller that, like a certain film that we're seeing in a few weeks, which is the third in the series of that, which,
next week.
Oh dear Lord, I love the Purge series, it's so good. Yay. So in Nerve we've basically got a young high school senior called V Delmonico, and she's not really sure what she's going to do next in her life because her brother, who she loved to bits, is died, and she's just waiting on an offer from her college, which is not sure whether to accept it or not or move away. And essentially she's constantly egged on by her friends who are saying that she doesn't live enough excitement in her life, and then she's pressured by her friends to join this online game called Nerve, hence the title, and she decides it's finally time to let loose a bit and become a bit more outgoing, I suppose. And eventually the game gives her a first sort of dare, which is basically to kiss a random stranger, and that's Dave Franco's Ian, who is a mysterious man reading the book that she loves. And eventually they are brought together by the game, the watchers of the game, who think that they could be a good pairing, and they go off into their adventure into the night where the darkness looms, essentially. And it's there's one thing that this film has above all that I want to point out most of all, and that's because the endless energy it has.
Oh yeah.
It does not let you up for 1 second. It is all set in one night, and the whole game, that everything that is about, is set in one night. So you have no real breathing space to go with it. And I think that's to its absolute positive, because if you did leave this film to have too much of a breathing space, I think it would lose a bit of its power.
Absolutely.
To be honest, do you think that's sort of...
No, I completely agree. I think the way it never lets up. I think all the contributing factors, things like the synthy score that's got the dark. It's all night light. The most light you get is the sort of neon colours that sort of pollute the film in a good way. But
I was going to get to that, but that's a good point. Definitely.
I apologise.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm saying you've covered it for us. That's good. But I'm just saying.
You ruined it.
No, you didn't. I'm gonna get back to it. But I'm just saying. So it's fine, yeah. But the fact that this game, I mean, Nerve, the game basically, essentially, if you haven't seen the trailer, you've heard it there. But Nerve is you've got a watcher or a player. If you're a watcher, you're watching everything unfold. If you're a player, you're taking part in this and you're letting the watchers decide your dares. So this could be something simple as the first dare that V does, where she kisses a stranger, or it could be something more serious, like one of the later dares is to lie on the train tracks and get a train go past you. So it's obviously, it could end up very death-defying. And Nerve has plenty of chances to show you that. And we'll get to why that's such a good plot device in a few minutes. But definitely, that is the key hook that gets you into. And right away, you are into the chemistry that Emma Roberts and Dave Franco have, because they do work together. They have a really intense chemistry with each other, I think. I've seen some criticism saying that Dave Franco is not quite as intense as they might be. Like, they were saying that you might be too relaxed. Like, I'm not sure. I think that's sort of fair, but I don't agree with that at all, because I think he's got a really... I think the mysterious bent that he has too, it really helps the film along, because you're always sort of on the edge of... That he's just been dragged into this like Emma Roberts has, but he also might have knowledge of the past, because as Emma Roberts one of her hacker friends goes into the game code later on in the film and discovers that Dave Franco doesn't really have much of a history online, so it as it develops, he's sort of on that knife's edge of trusting and not trusting. And as you were saying just before, I mean, Nerve is drenched in that neon colour palette. You know, it's got that eerily near future world aesthetic that something like Black Mirror has, and this film has plenty of parallels to the Black Mirror the series, which a lot of which we'll get.
It's set a few years in the future, isn't it?
Like that eerily near future sort of bent that it has, which is just sort of, it's like the uncanny valley of sort of time period, I guess, where it's close, but it feels light years away, but also uncomfortably near to what's happening right now and what could eventually develop. I know we're on the way back. We're literally looking on the Twitter. Well,
can I bring one example of that up now? So I thought I'd sort of search the hashtag Nerve, see what people are saying about it, because it had just come out. A tweet from Amanda Zilic 72. Nerve should be a real game. And then there was a reply to that tweet from Double Dog App. That's not an endorsement. It's by far nowhere near an endorsement. Saying, check out Double Dog. Real dares for cash and glory. So... there is already a Nerve.
It's happening already.
It's already happening,
and that just sort of that really adds the credibility to the script, which was written by Jessica Sharza, adapted by a novel by Gian Ryan, and that just shows that the premise is more timely.
And directed by the guys who made Catfish.
Exactly, and a few Paranormal Activities as well. But it just shows that premise is more timely and relevant than ever, because by putting the story in the high school and with high school students, it manages to explore that premise within the social group that technology and internet culture is most relevant to. And it definitely, by putting it in that world of high school, the high school sphere, they're always egging people on in that age, you know, the relationships that develop around high school and the drama that is within there, along with the decisions that are easily influenced by your friends. You know, I mean, how many times in school did people say, if you do this,
we still do.
Still do right now.
Odds on.
You've got odds on, exactly.
Alcohol.
It makes the story a lot more relevant, and by putting it in that one night structure, it always has a massive energy to it and a massive sort of frenetic, you never know what's going to happen next bent. And I like the fact that V's best friend has always got a sort of a part in the story. She is one of the most popular Nerve players at the start, while V is the closeted in player, and as she becomes much more popular and more confident, partnered up with Ian, she rises all the way to the top, and there's always something going on. There's a character that Ian has a past with in the film, and I won't get too much into that, because that's one of the big things that Nerve has in this film, but it always adds to the fact that you never quite know what you're going to expect from this film, because it's always got something going on in the lens that you view it through, and that is definitely the biggest reason why I like the film so much, because you get to see everything as if you are in the game. There are constant cuts away with that soundtrack, as you were saying, like that synth soundtrack with tracks like Jungle and Bones, stuff like that, always going at you. And the fact that you get to see these cutaways where it's sort of got these neon signs going up into the sky, where it shows you where the players are around the city, and they're sort of dropping away as the game progresses, because it is a winner stays on game, I guess that's the best way to put it. So you're always seeing people develop as the game goes on, and you've always got shots of people with their cameras, and the camera, as an observer, is definitely the tactic that they've gone for, because you're always seeing this blinding light from the camera. You know?
It to a certain degree it explores voyeurism in an interesting way.
Absolutely, It's definitely true. I think it just made me so uncomfortable. I really
that's
felt
the thing
that.
for me.
Yeah.
I've felt most connected to V because that's
Absolutely.
that's kind of who I am. I'm not really a person who does very outgoing things. I totally felt her uncomfortability. I don't know if that's a word or not, but I certainly
Uncomfortableness.
yeah, fine. To be egged on like that is I'm not gonna do it. Just don't even bother. Just don't even bother trying.
Like the headbutt game.
Which is a totally different story for a different day.
Story for a different day.
But no, I really got behind her, and because I got behind her, I got behind the whole film. I kind of feel like you would identify more with the other girl because you kind of say yes a lot.
Yeah.
I guess we're on different sides of the coin for that one. I think there's one line in particular where it's the there on the bridge with the ladder going across between the two apartments, where one of the people says you have to film it or it doesn't count. That really sticks in my mind, but not just because of the whole dare thing and the whole fact that like there's literally no need for a nerve game because we do it anyway. Like Facebook, if you go on Facebook, it's not a social network anymore. It's literally a YouTube for like stupid people. It's just beyond ridiculous how stupid Facebook has got.
Snapchat.
And Snapchat, indeed.
Yeah.
The thing about you have to film it doesn't count. It applies to everything, and this is the thing that's got on my nerves for so long in life.
On your nerves.
People who film, very good. People who film at gigs, people who film at football matches, people who film things that are in front of their eyes that are so wonderful and marvelous that they'd rather like share the experience with other people rather than live in the moment, and that really bugs me. And that line sticks out in particular because, like, you know, if the world's not there to see it, then it just didn't happen. And that is just sad, and that is it's the most poignant thing that stuck out for me. On the whole, really like this film. Really like it.
Yeah, I honestly, it did make me so wholly uncomfortable, and I absolutely adored that fact that the camera was always watching you. It always had this legion of phone cameras blaring at you. You know, they must turn the brightness on that a lot. Like that, added that neon color palette, and it's always getting at you. So you're always in there. It's always being invasive, and you're always part of the game. You are a watcher, whether you like it or not. You are always watching. It's definitely. I mean, I think we should talk the ending quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. What do you think about the ending? We can't really talk too much about it, but
no, I think it was very on the nose.
Yeah,
I think they nearly did something bad, but I think it kind of worked out okay in the end. I mean, I'd compare it in the same way as Unfriended from last year, where it kind of had that theme and it was deceptively clever, but that Unfriended totally balls its landing. Whereas I think Nerve was far more confident in its message. Which was a massive bonus.
I mean, obviously, it does have heavy social commentary. I can see why some people don't like it, but I think it added to it because with that frenetic pace of the film and these likable characters that you do get behind because the characters are so earnest in what they do, and you're in that story with Emma Roberts discovering what's going on, you just got to be swept away by it in the end. And I think the ending is immensely powerful because you do learn to keep with these people, and you have had little chances to breathe with them and experience their own lives, which definitely makes it a recommend for me, I would say.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It makes you think.
I think the only issue I have is because it's aimed at a younger audience and things like Black Mirror, the point is going to be missed spectacularly by some. And as we've proved with that tweet, people are going to miss the point and fly well wide of the mark and think this is actually a really cool thing to do, and then just not taking the message.
The parallels to Black Mirror are just constant. You feel like this could be a Charlie Brooker film.
Yeah, but I think it's good because it's not like Black Mirror's sort of middle class audience that it goes for.
Absolutely,
it's in America it's a PG-13. Here it's a 15 because it's slightly different things. But the fact that it can speak to young audience is really, really pleasing. So that's Nerve. I recommend it as well. Ryan does too.
Absolutely.
It's well worth seeing.